Welcome back to Tiny Blue Games. My name's, of course, Csaw or Chris, and today we are talking about Artale in 2024. For those of you who are new to the channel or haven't seen any of my past Artale videos, Artale is essentially an old school MapleStory server that's been recreated on the MapleStory Worlds platform, and it's been something that I've fallen in love with over the last couple of weeks, and I've been very happy to make content for, and that's continuing today with a very rare midweek video for me, highlighting some of the new content coming to Artale in November, which is really, really exciting to see. So here we do have the post from them. It's highlighting the Artale World November monthly operation plan. There's some really cool stuff in here, so we're gonna take a look at what we've got. Generally speaking, this is a very positive note as well. One of the big things with a game that has a successful launch, and it seems like a lot of interest has been there for Artale. Obviously, there's been bugs and stuff that they've been fixing, but I think generally speaking, it's been a very positive soft launch that they've seen. But the big thing that you want to do as a developer is put more fuel into the fire while it's burning. So getting content to players while there is still that excitement, very important, and it seems like they are aware of that. Hopefully this is an indication that we're going to continue to see a lot of content coming from Artale. They have the advantage of having kind of this big library of content that's already been developed that just needs to be ported into the game. Obviously, it's not an easy thing to do and it takes a lot of time still, but relative to making up the content, at least they can kind of just focus on really bringing in some of the top pieces of content that people have been waiting for. So that's really cool to see too. But yeah, so we're going to take a look at the content. Mostly they're just kind of introducing this at the top here and saying, hey, that there is a feedback document. So if you were someone who wants to give some guidance on what content you want to see in Artale, be sure to check that out. I don't explicitly see a launch date anywhere mentioned at the top here, but there is this like 17th kind of calendar thing right here. And this is not being posted on November 17th, so I don't know if this means that this is kind of the date that they're hoping to launch it, but that would be very cool if that is the case, kind of a mid-month launch, but we'll see. That's not official. That's just me kind of guessing at things, and maybe there is a specific date at the end here that I just haven't gotten to. But with all that said, let's get into the content. So here's a bit of a summary, and we've got actually a lot coming to the game. I'm kind of surprised by how much they're adding in one update, because if you took it and split it in half, it would still seem like pretty substantial updates for like a month after the game launched. Like what did they say up here? That's like been 3 weeks or something like that. Yeah, 3 weeks since the global soft launch. So this is a pretty big update for that. But let's see what we got here. We got 2 new regions, 2 new party quests, which is absolutely massive for people who are actively leveling. The introduction of a new raid boss, which is huge because I know that there is a wide selection of players who are already kind of pushing the upper limits of the game in terms of what content's out there, and having a challenge to really sink their teeth into, I think is going to be a huge thing. Launch of a new overseas travel content. So this is going to essentially be like a 3rd region. Bug fixes and map/UI improvements, absolutely massive to see. There are certainly some ugly UI elements that I hope get tackled in this. And then security enhancements and internal optimization work, which just always good. Right away before we get into what this content is, this seems like a really good balance of stuff that will impact players kind of at all level ranges. We'll have to see what regions and stuff are being announced, but you know, you've got regions, you've got party quests, and you've got raid bosses. It seems like we're kind of taking a well-rounded approach there, which I think is really nice. But let's get into it. So we've got 2 new regions. This November, 2 new regions, Omega Sector and Mulong Garden, will be opening. Each region will offer players a wide variety of farming routes and growth options, enhancing strategic gameplay. Omega Sector and Mulong Garden will feature engaging quests. I mean, we'll see if that's true for Omega Sector, giving players more opportunity to acquire diverse items. We're working diligently to ensure these new regions are polished and will launch smoothly without errors, providing a stable experience for everyone. So that's really exciting, and I'll just scroll down a bit here. So we've got the pictures of both the Omega Sector on the top there with our alien friends. This, for players who haven't played Old School MapleStory or just don't remember, is at the bottom of the left tower in Ludi. So the one that has the PQ at the top of it. At the bottom of it, when you go all the way down the 100 floors, you would get to the Omega Sector. I'm sure a lot of us who have played Old School MapleStory back in the day might remember getting stuck there. It is a unfortunate place to be for sure. And then the bottom here, we have the Mulong Garden area, which is a very beautiful region with a lot of different varieties of creatures as well. What's interesting right away for me looking at these two is this is kind of, both of these regions are mid gameplay loop regions. So kind of, I would say the 35 to 55 range, if I had to give a very broad estimation. What I will say is, from my time playing Old School MapleStory, there isn't a tremendous amount of grinding, like absolutely meta grinding maps that stand out to me in these regions. Specifically, Omega Sector is a place where people don't really go. The grinding spots aren't great. The quests are pretty long and don't offer a tremendous amount of good rewards. So it'll be interesting to see if they have, some optimizations or changes in Artale that makes this zone more attractive to players. Either way, it is new stuff to explore, and new quests and stuff is always a welcome thing at this level range. So that's good. It'll just be interesting if they make it more incentivized for players to be in the Omega Sector. The Mulong Garden is, I'd say, more of a place that people go. But even then, there's not a ton of key grinding maps that I really remember going to a lot. There are certainly some quests there that are very beneficial, so that is good. And I'm curious if this includes the Herb Garden area too, because they're kind of connected in some ways. And I kind of suspect it does, because I also think that's one of the party quests we're getting. But let me just take a look. But either way, I'm very excited for these two regions, so we'll talk a bit more about that. The other big thing to mention here is that whenever you have new monsters being added to the game, you have more, items and scrolls and stuff that are being added, or more possibilities to get those. So even if I'm not thinking of a great leveling grinding spot in either of these maps, there could certainly be some really good places to grind for drops and stuff like that, or for items that might not even be in the game, which is such a cool part about Artale versus kind of some of the other Old School MapleStory experiences you can play right now. The meta is going to shift every time we have one of these content updates, because there's going to be new items, new places to be. Whereas a lot of existing Old School MapleStory scenarios, everything's kind of been launched. Yes, there is some stuff that can be added, but it's kind of far in between. A lot of these new regions are going to get added, I think, from what it seems like, pretty quickly here, and we're going to keep seeing the game evolve over time, which is really cool. But let's go down to the party quests. So 2 new party quests. This month, along with the new regions, we'll be adding 2 new party quests, Orbis PQ and Herbtown PQ. Each of these party quests centers on teamwork, demanding close cooperation among players to succeed. Clearing the party quest will reward you with powerful equipment. Oh yeah, that's fair, making them challenging, a challenge you won't want to miss. While both quests have entry-level caps, for a limited time, all players who meet the minimum level requirement will be able to join without additional level restrictions. So that's a really nice thing that they've been doing with any of this new party quests that's being added, is having no upper ceiling to the level requirements. I think that's very smart, because it doesn't make people afraid of over leveling their content. Which certainly is something that could have been restrictive with some of the powerful items that you can get from these party quests. The most notable recent entry was the Ludi PQ that had the glasses, right? And even as a really high-level player, you want that piece of equipment right now, because it's one of the better pieces you can get. So in terms of, what we've got, we don't have an Orbis PQ picture, interestingly. So we've got 2 pirate PQ pictures here. This does make me think that we're probably getting Mulong and the Herbtown area, which is a much wider range of maps and monsters and quests, unless they have a sneaky entrance in Mulong that just brings you to this. So I'm kind of interested in that. But maybe just in the overall MapleStory map, the Herbtown is just a part of Mulong Gardens or something like that, and that could just be me misreading or misunderstanding that. So I'm curious to see if that's the case, but the Pirate PQ is definitely in Herbtown as opposed to Mulong Garden, or the Mulong area. So we'll see how that shakes out. In terms of items, I know the Pirate PQ typically gives you a pirate hat. And there are, like, I think 4 tiers of the hat that get more powerful the more times you do the party quest. I should start by saying the party quest is typically from 50 to 100, so it is actually a really large range of levels to begin with. And it is one of those party quests where if you're not careful, you can end up there for a really long time just because it has such a long shelf life. But that could be nice because you could, instead of just absolutely dedicating your life to getting the item from it right at the start, you could do some grinding there. You could go do some other grinding and come back to it, which I think is kind of a nice way to go about it, as opposed to being super focused on just getting the glasses before you're out of the level range for Lady PQ. So that could be nice. But yeah, the hat's really strong, especially without being able to purchase Zac helms or get Zac helms in any way. This is like going to be a hat that gives all base stats, and it's going to be certainly the best in slot hat, I think, when it is released. So it's going to be a very powerful hat, unless they're changing what the reward for this PQ is. Orbis PQ is typically 51 to 70 or 50 to 70. It happens in Orbis, spoilers, and it is in the tower as well. It is a PQ that I haven't done very much just because it's kind of at a level range that I don't spend a lot of time often in these servers. But it's one that's kind of exciting because of that. Like it's a cool party quest that I think it'll be fun for players to really explore it now that they have maybe more time to check it out. So I'm very excited to try OPQ and see what it's like. In terms of rewards, this one I'm a little bit less sure of, but I believe in some iterations of Old School MapleStory, we've seen a wristband glove that's like level 50 and has like 1 base magic and 1 base weapon attack or something like that, or some stats on it. It becomes like a pretty decent glove for you to scroll. It's called a wristband, but it's a glove. I don't know if that's the reward they'll have there or if it'll be a different reward. I'm more certain of the pirate hat because it's such an iconic piece of that, obviously pirate boss. But it'll be interesting to see what they do for the Orbis PQ side as well. Jumping down here to the new raid boss, we have Papulatus, which I think is a great first choice, and we already had kind of a teaser that this would be what's coming first. Let's see what it says here. In November, a new raid boss, Papulatus, will be added. This Papulatus raid features not only the original attack patterns, but also new dynamic attack sequences, making the encounter even more thrilling and action-packed, which is super great. For those who haven't done a lot of MapleStory bossing, it is fun, but it is often like a just stand there and shoot kind of situation, and anything that makes that a little bit more exciting, I think, is a good thing. Hopefully that's balanced with the idea that like the difficulty curve in a lot of the Old School MapleStory bosses where it is just standing there is if you have enough HP to survive. That's the only real check. So maybe if they make it a little bit more forgiving that way and have it be much more action-based, it would be a nice balance, but we'll see what that looks like. They also say the raid will require more than just standing in one spot. Oh, the perfect, and pressing keys. It will challenge players with a level of difficulty that demands strategic play. Defeating this formidable boss comes with excellent rewards, so we encourage everyone to take on the challenge and show your skills. So this is really exciting. I'm sure a lot of the high-level players are going to be racing in here to see. It'll be curious to see if this is challenging enough that we have kind of a race to kill it first, where it is a ton of attempts, or if it is just harder than regular PAP, but also not that crazy. So it'll be cool to see what that looks like, and also what it drops, if it's just regular items that PAP drops, which will be still very powerful, or if there is actually more uniqueness there. There's a little bit of mystery there, which I think is really cool. The other big thing is if this will be good for XP, if this is something that people are going to want to run on a lockout to get a really quick little burst of XP per day. I think that would be a super great thing to break up kind of the endless grind that I'm sure a lot of people have as they get into the higher levels on this server. We've got the new overseas travel content. So in addition, a new overseas travel region, China, will be introduced. Very interesting. That's not one of the areas that I would have thought they would have chosen. The China travel content features maps set against the vibrant backdrop of Shanghai, where players can enjoy engaging quests and a fun storyline. A powerful field boss monster based in Shanghai will also be added, bringing an extra layer of excitement to this new region, which I assume this is the big, a big beetle creature, which from my experience notoriously is really hard and does not drop much good stuff, but we'll see if I'm wrong about that. But this is an interesting, I guess what makes a lot of sense, and I really haven't done the China region very much for overseas content, but I believe this is even like more mid-low level content, like kind of the like 15s to like maybe 35 or something, which actually works really well now. When back to that original comment of it being a well-rounded patch, we have this for some of the new players that are kind of in the lower level range. We have a lot of stuff being added for mid-level range, which I have to assume is where a lot of the player base is, kind of that, 30 to 60 or whatever range with the 2 new zones at the party quest. There's a lot being added there. And then the boss raid for the highest level players. So I think they're doing an excellent job of choosing a little bit of something for everyone from this. But I will be curious. I think one of the big things to look out for this zone as well will be any items that are added that aren't currently accessible that you might be able to get from creatures from this area. And that might make a new farming location for a lot of people. Lastly, we have bug fixes, map and UI improvements. Some minor bugs have been identified within Artale, and we are working to address the issues promptly. We've also discovered errors in maps and mini-maps, and we're actively resolving them with regular patches to ensure smooth gameplay. I'm sure this is like some of the mini-maps don't actually match what's in the map, and it's kind of confusing. Additionally, some elements of the UI appear slightly enlarged or different in certain areas. That is exactly the ugly UI that I'm talking about. Artale is designed to be fully accessible on mobile devices, and you can expect a smooth, enjoyable experience when playing on mobile. So I am assuming they're going to kind of try and tailor it to both device types depending on what you're running. For any specific issues causing concern, we are committed to making quick adjustments. If you see anything, leave some feedback. And then security enhancement and internal optimizations. Over the past 3 weeks, nearly 50,000 new players have joined Artale, and we are incredibly grateful for the enthusiasm and support each of you have shown. That is crazy that there's so many people who were excited for Old School MapleStory that they're jumping into Artale, because let's be honest, I think a lot of people were excited for Maple Land, and this was kind of the first available option that came. Like, it just shows the amount of intent and interest there is there for Old School MapleStory. So hopefully this only makes more stuff to come, which is going to be really cool. With Artale's rapid growth, we've seen a noticeable increase in unauthorized program usage and real money trading. So they're aware of those issues, both of which are harmful to our in-game economy. Artale is committed to protecting our game economy and ensuring a fair experience for all players, and we've consistently implemented extensive security measures to address these issues, resulting in sanctions on countless violators. In November, we're intensifying these efforts. Our primary focus will be on identifying users of unauthorized programs and curbing RMT activities to prevent any further harm to our in-game economy. We're dedicated to creating a safe and enjoyable experience for all, and we appreciate your continued support. Additionally, to maintain a smooth gameplay experience, we're conducting internal optimization efforts. We're always dedicated to bringing you the cherished memories and nostalgia of MapleStory. Well, I think that's pretty much it. And I think this is a huge update. Like I said, if they split this in half and had half the zones and half the PQs in one update for November and the other half in December, I think people would be equally happy. So this is that just really shows you how much content you're getting in one bite here, which is really nice. But no, for myself as a player who is, in their 40s in Ludi PQ, this is the perfect next step for me with a lot of these new PQs and zones. So I'm very excited to try it out. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of the content they've decided to add? What are some pieces of content that you really hope to see them add in the future? Personally, one of my fondest memories is the Ludi Maze PQ. That's one of I think it's 50 to 70, but that's one of the PQs that I remember dedicating a lot of time to just because it was such an accessible, from the main town PQ. And I hope they do give that one a try, but I'd love to hear your own thoughts about what you'd like to see added. Until next video though, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.